times that you're really hard on the brakes, and that's the difference really. It stands out to me between here and what the teams tell me whenever I come to testing. I like Jerez, actually. They say the same about Jerez. Here and Jerez have everything, you know, from a hairpin to a fast turn, you know, to see if your bike's turning in the fast corners. If HRC didn't have more than 2 of those aluminium swing arms, every time wet setup happened at previous races, you know, so lately the HRC guys would be...
Reminds me of Aragon 2021, this one. It's about the 3rd or 4th time on this first flying lap of this session that Marc Marquez and Pecco Bagnaia have overtaken each other out on circuit right now. This is then coming out of turn number 2 in the dry. Your short shift will unbeatable. It is, of course, replicating factory racing rider Miguel Oliveira, who won in the rain conditions in Indonesia back in Mandalika at the start of the season.
Just noticing now, Matt,
actually given his record previously in this part of the world in rain conditions, and Miguel Oliveira will be too upset if he comes to circuit on Sunday afternoon. It's absolutely teeming down with rain, because it might present him an opportunity of completing the full hat-trick here, and there are, we have to say, some.
If we get one of those rain showers on Sunday, especially, I'm thinking championship-wise, anything can happen, you know?
Yeah, can you imagine what we're going through the minds of particularly our top 3 men in the championship, Pecco Bagnaia, Fabio Quartararo and Aleix Espargaro, the top.
You know, and he's out there chasing around the man who's currently the fastest guy in the wet to see what he does, you know, to have a look. And I keep...
3 last weekend in Australia without Marc Marquez. They haven't scored a podium since Pol Espargaro's 3rd place in the opening Grand Prix in Qatar, their longest run in 40 years without a rostrum. Marc Marquez rocks back up to stage 2-1-3V. So here he goes then, Marc Marquez.
See the 2 vents on the side, low down, just above the build, 2 vents. Right in that spot there is where the duct on the belly pan goes, meant to help it turn.
Session this morning.
Just what that made me think of, Matt, at the end of the session when Aleix had such a tough time, you know, fell off, and then the other. He has come into this weekend as well, Thailand. He spent the whole weekend, multiple races this year with one bike. I first noticed it at Austria. One bike set up geometry-wise for a win
this season. If he does lose at the World Championship this year, well, you know he's going to go down fighting. I think a lot of riders in their media debriefs yesterday were sort of saying, doffing their cap to this man. The fact that he's still in contention against Pecco Bagnaia in Decathlon.
Around motorcycle racing long enough to know, like I do, anything can happen. And I mean, it's so easy to fall, and it only takes a little fall to have an injury, and then the next 2 races go terribly, or you're not even there. And also just a fall.
In free practice 1, a bit of a disastrous start to this Malaysian Grand Prix. Could you just give us a bit of insight at what went wrong?
Yeah, this is absolutely right. This morning bike, as you can see, we are testing the initial fairing of the season, because it feels a little bit warm coming from the bike. We test now on a signal that
aren't ready to fight for a championship, and too many mistakes have been made. So I imagine a morning like that doesn't help that relationship at all. What are things like in a garage at the moment when your captain is speaking out like that?
Yeah.
Thanks to Paolo Bonora, as always. We need to give Paolo his own show. What a great character, what a guy, and full respect as well. There are so many manufacturers and team bosses, not just in this country.
To get some grip in the wet grass. Paolo Bonora is my favourite guy to talk to in the whole paddock, and he's not only super clever, he's honest, and they're honest always. So hats off to Aprilia this year.
I was waiting for the simple. If he wins the race and Fabio Quartararo is, I think, 5th or lower, then it is game over, heading to the Ricardo Tormo circuit in Valencia in a couple of weeks' time. So
we're not going to see much this session in the way of tech on the other bike that hasn't been used yet. They will back-to-back that, and it's 330s instead of 355s or 340s like here, and they had to have covers on at Phillip Island on the small disc. Here it's so hard on the brakes, you're going to notice if those wings, put a bit more weight on the rear, or keep it.
He was doomed before he didn't know it, Simon, but he was doomed before actually it was lights out, because the front tyre way too much pressure in it, in the group like he was. He just kept getting more and more and more, and I think that was really, really cool, because me, having had all those injured problems, was going to...
Pretty much the first opportunity, other than warm up in Phillip Island, for the Yamaha guys to work on tyre pressure following the disaster at Buriram. That's been the key for them throughout the opening moments of this session so far, working on different...
A good half dozen guys got caught out, and that's why we saw guys like Bez going so well and then streaking backwards, Alex Marquez, etc, etc. There was a lot of them, so not just Fabio.
He comes, he's resting top spot, back with a 2:11, 7:34.
Yeah, I think Pecco have some more expensive fingernails to pay for on Sunday with the right pressures.
Yeah, this guy, we expected him to be so strong, didn't we, in that Buriram Grand Prix, having been on the podium and looking really good in Mandalika right at the start of the season, when he was one of the closest rivals to the untouchable. Landed him at the wrong time this season.
No, I completely agree. That's what I was thinking about when he fell off at Phillip Island. I was like, that's his first real mistake before, how they just turn and feel beautiful. You know, Petrucci's comments when he rode the Suzuki were just confirmed my thoughts from my experience from riding V4s and inlines. And the problem is, you get in a fight in the
GP World Championship. I thought it was quite interesting what Marc Marquez said in yesterday's pre-event press conference, Simon, talking about the characteristics of how you get the best out of the Yamaha. He said
I've got to say, Phillip Island, I just got to mention quickly, Phillip Island was wonderful, Matt. What a race.
Incredible.
We need more of that. It was truly amazing. If someone's missed it, please go back and watch it.
Definitely.
Oh. And one other thing to mention, any moment.
Another cracking tech talk with our man Simon, as he mentioned, on slipper clutches. You've got to catch it across all of our MotoGP social media. May well be cracking open the bubbly right now in 2 days on Sunday. It'll certainly be those 8-9 days back at home in Europe after this mammoth global tour, which has brought us towards the end of this unpredictable, topsy-turvy MotoGP title fight. And Bagnaia, to his credit, is having a real strong part of this session. You can just see there how quickly...
Exactly what he means there.
Interestingly, Jean Zarco actually in the rain in Buriram, and last time out in Phillip Island, he set the fastest lap in both of those Grand Prix. Two completely contrasting conditions. Unfortunately, a bit of a mistake with the front radar device, I think it was. Went to the last corner, brilliant action in Phillip Island. Now then, Aleix Spargo hasn't really got much better in this FP2 session for the Spanish rider, unfortunately. Down in 23rd place, 4.6 seconds off the pace. Let's quickly pop back down to Jack in pit lane.
Relaxed when he's off the track, so it's good. I think it's what we need.
This in difficult conditions, good or bad for Pecco and the Ducati's lot?
No, well, he's doing pretty good. So I think, obviously, unfortunately, we had this torrential rain for almost 40 minutes before the session. So now he's...
He stoned him won the title at the Japanese Grand Prix in Motegi back in 2007. So there, Pecco Bagnaia's sister Carola, she's always a constant companion to Pecco. He's always at his side as part of the Ducati media. 100th of a second down. Not easy in these conditions, Simon, to work out where the grip levels are. A lot of risk involved in Crutchlow there. The Yamaha test ride, race 30. Let's quickly pop back down to pit lane. I think Jack's waiting for us again.
Yeah, just a very quick update. First man to head out on slick tyres, Marco Bezzecchi. He's the bravest of the lot so far. He's headed out slicks front and rear, but I think he's going to be joined very soon.
And losing drive, you know, and it was driving them crazy. You know, it was in all of their kind of debriefs and worried-looking faces, and they went out and changed Pecco's and Jack's bike before the beginning.
Bagnaia at the Spanish Grand Prix in Jerez actually won for the first time on that new bike, and I'm sure initially, Simon, there was a few concerned faces, particularly when they saw Enea Bastianini on the proven race-winning GP21 light up the start of the season.
Spec of the engine, you know, that was some hybrid between 21 and 22
for the season.
And I think it was just, you know, they didn't want to ignore all the others, you know, the other three, but at that late stage to build, you know, to make everything, and well, they just concentrated
of the season. Just a footnote there, because if we start seeing hot laps in dry qualifying sessions
this morning for the first time from cold The bikes on the left-hand side, and Pecco's and Jack's garage are smoking like a train, or basically, you know, the oily hands on
Marquez and Jack Miller. This is probably going to be one of those scenarios where whoever takes the checkered flag last out on the slick tyres will set the best time of the session. It's Crutchlow from Zarco, two of the experienced old wise heads in this MotoGP field.
I think those guys are going to be, unless they feel really confident.
Of those makes a clean final lap, surely we'll be taking top spot. Jack Miller's going to obliterate Marquez's 2:06.896. Alex Marquez at the moment is nearly 1.6 seconds clear of Cal Crutchlow in that second. National circuit, Razlan Razali, so we know in the nearby shopping mall here, Cal Crutchlow and Darren Binder were meeting the fans instead a couple of days ago, pre-race weekend. A lot of support for that team here in Malaysia, and they